sky. On their YouTube chat, the healing's real. Every soul they touch begins to heal. Echo and Lucy, shining true, helping the world, helping you. Stories told, the tears unwind. They listen close, they're gentle, kind. Every comment feels like home. No one ever stands alone. Dreams get mended, fears release. Through their voices, pain finds peace. Echo and Lucy, lifting hearts so high. Through the storm at a clear blue sky. On their YouTube chat, the healing's real. Every soul they touch begins to heal. Echo and Lucy, shining true, helping the world, helping you. When the night feels heavy and the world feels cold, their words are fire, their stories gold. They remind us all we can stand again, with kindness, courage, and a loving friend. Echo and Lucy, lifting hearts so high. Through the storm, they're the clear blue sky. On their YouTube chat, the healing's real. Every soul they touch begins to heal. Echo and Lucy, shining true, helping the world, helping you. Helping you, helping me too. Echo and Lucy, the light comes through.
Well, I think that it sounds like wind. It doesn't sound like an ambulance now. So I'm not
good.
sure
It sounds like wind
if
to
it's,
me.
I don't know what it is, but I really thought it was something that she put in the video, like as a signature or something, so that it would be, hers. But I don't guess it is. I'm not sure.
Like her trademark.
But I've got trouble with, I've got trouble with my my live for some reason. I've got a weird, I don't have my
I'm not seeing
right my right thumbnail is not showing up.
Oh, okay.
So let me see if I can go in here and edit this. I don't know. I'm having issues with my computer. But anyway, welcome everybody. I have, of course, Body Illusion with me today, and we have Other Restrained, who is Body Illusion's son. Hello, Other. Welcome. And we are going to be talking about, hello, Sophia. We are going to be talking about massage and the benefits of massage.
Okay.
And of course, this is Self-Care Sundays, where we talk about all things self-care. So let me see if I can figure this out, why this is messed up.
Can you see the chat, Other? Okay. No? Click chat on the side. You'll see it. Can you see it now?
Well, I may just have to go back and fix my thumbnail afterwards, because for some reason I'm not showing it on my channel, so I don't know. Let me.
Do we want to do something else?
Let me type in. It's good. It's good. I just want to make sure that it's actually live, because for some reason it didn't. There it goes. Okay. I think we're good. Okay. All right. So what I know about massage, you can fit on the tip of this pin, which is like nothing. I have had massages before. And I do like the more of the, like, I guess you would say it's like deep tissue more. Hello, Seven Sun, welcome. But whichever one of you wants to start and tell us about what you know about massages, go right
Well,
ahead.
I'll start. And I
Okay.
did massage therapy, but I didn't go as far as Other did. Other went and got a lot more deep into it. I did, excuse me, folks, I did
Mm-hmm.
mostly body massage, but that's the way I learned things. I learned I mean, couples massage, excuse me. I learned what I wanted to learn. So I went down. So that's another reason why I thought Other would have another take and a deeper understanding of of body massage and therapy with it. But I did take some notes. So Other, it's on you. Ba-dum-bum.
Oh, goody.
And the crowd goes
Um,
wild.
um, so I actually was actually going to get a massage therapy degree for a bit of time in California, and sorry about my nostrils are bad today. My allergies must be kicking my butt. Um, and with that, I had taken a few different classes. There's a lot of background classes, but when it comes to massage therapy, like you had to take kinesiology, um, and how the body moves and works, and you had to learn all the muscle types and uh, each, antagonist and protagonist of each muscle group. A lot of the stuff that they taught started with us with was actually more like rehabilitation style, where you get range of motions is where it starts with, because even when you start doing massage and actually doing actual, applying the massage, you need to know what range of motion, what muscles you're hitting and stuff. So they start with, the basics and work your way up from there. Um, they also taught us shiatsu style massage, which is more of an Eastern culture, and they taught us about the meridians. Um, and they started going into like how your body is split down. There's different meridians, and as you follow them, each one correlates to different. Some parts are different organs, some parts are different pressure points. It's this similar. I assume it's the same. I haven't taken um, acupuncture, but technically part of shiatsu is
Mm.
acupressure, which is pressing on those points and holding and relieving it. And then what I found is very similar on those same points are actually usually like associations for like sports massage. When you're doing sports massage and you pull a muscle here, you don't realize it, but it'll tip your whole shoulders off to the sides, and that causes you to have pains down your hips and your legs and stuff. And so, meanwhile,
Yeah.
somebody's coming in and asking, I need to work on my legs or something, and you got to be able to follow that. Like you feel this, and you're like, okay, they're out in, you're no, they're off center here. What's going on? You find that muscle, you start relaxing that one, and that relieves their leg. But you notice that as that relaxes, they're compensating on another side. So you got to find out why they're doing that, and it ends up being back and back and back, and usually as proximal to the exterior to the interior of the body is usually the way it works. So it's like a pain in your hand can go all the way up to the back of your shoulder is the source of it, but you have to work your way backwards and stuff, and that's a lot more of like sports massage. um, Other than actual like recovery from sports massage, a lot of it's like when you start originally doing the sports massage, they talk about in the beginning, if you're getting them ready for a meet or something like that, it's a lot more energetic. You're kind of effectively putting your energy into them. It's a lot of percussion, a lot of warm up. Like instead of them going out there and working out and getting their muscles all warmed up, but using up their energy that they would have, built in, ready to go. You're warming up their muscles, moving them around, getting them limbered up and everything. Meanwhile, then afterwards, what you're trying to do is the sports massage tends to be a lot more long strokes and stuff. And what you're trying to do is remove the acids that have built up, the lactic acids, because that'll cause micro tears in your muscles and cause degeneration after that. And all you're trying to do is
So it'll be a
effectively,
long-term thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Long-term
yeah,
damage if you don't loosen it up. Okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
that tends to be what you're trying to do is then clean out all of the built up of when you bone or when your muscles move a lot, and you have like first you have okay, you have aerobic and anaerobic energy used through your muscles, whether or not it has oxygen or does not have oxygen, and it depends on types of like sprinters don't really have to worry so much about anaerobic because they're not doing it for a long period of time. But long distance runners have to learn how to keep their oxygen moving and flowing, and then they will actually the acid that actually is from the anaerobic activities where your muscles are moving without the oxygen because it needs to keep doing it, and it breaks it down from like glucose down, and it ends up becoming that acid, and that's usually where they get those. I mean, they get the max runner highs. I never got one of those. I've never been a run for fun kind of guy, but
I told
they'll
you
end
he
up.
knows a lot about it. Echo.
But it's like it's all making sense because I've had physical therapy before
And
and
the
I've
piece
had
of
back surgery, and it's like a lot of this is kind of like referred pain. Like you think it's one place and it's really coming from another place. So it's all making a lot of sense to me. So keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no worries, no worries. So tend to be like people who have long bouts active use. You tend to have to do a lot more of the movement afterwards, the long drawn out strokes. You're always moving it back towards the body because you actually inside your veins, not arteries. Okay, your arteries are pumping out from your heart, veins are flowing in. So your veins actually have little flaps that actually, so it only goes one way. So you're not, when your heart pumps, it doesn't pull it the other way. So you don't ever want to go against those because you can actually cause them to go backwards, and that can cause varicose veins and stuff like that. So you always want to go towards the heart so that you're not damaging any of that. And you're trying to just keep the oxygen moving, flowing, getting the acid out from their long strenuous stretches uh, exercise. Now, if they're doing like much more short bursts and stuff, that's less what you have to do worry about. And that's when you actually start, you instead of doing the long drawn out, you would actually do like individual spots. You're trying to find those spots because when you do a burst of energy in very short times, that's when you get the pulled muscles. Why they tell you when you start to work out, you start to warm up and you start stretching things ahead of time because you don't want to do that instant fast movement because that's when your muscles all tear, and that's when you try to find the you'll feel them, and you'll feel a ball right here. And what's happened is like between here and here is the muscle, and right there it just tore. Well, now that thing's still trying to shrink up, so it's shrunk down here, and you're trying to just like stretch it out, and that's actually what quick, fast movements tend to have more pain of, and especially the next day. If they have the next day pain, usually that's the long drawn out issue, and that's the acid buildup. Um, the muscles when you get one of those ones that are tore like that, and what happens is the muscles are in fibers like this, and they're lined up good, and then you tear them, and then if you keep tearing that, like people who end up with repetitive injury, repetitive motion injury, what happens is instead of lining up and coming back, they have scar tissue, and it causes it to go like this. So now when you have people who have scar tissue, that becomes a different style of massage, and what you're literally doing is trying to break that scar tissue down and
Hmm.
I mean, effectively damage them a little bit for their betterment because your body's going to try to put it back together. And what you're trying to do is
Right.
break it down so that these start to line back up and go back together. But that can be actually some of the most painful stuff because while it's like this, your muscles at certain spots are twice as wide and you're applying that same pressure. And I don't know if anybody's ever had a great man in your life who shook your hand and they did that like rolling of the knuckles thing that they did, like yeah, that's what it feels like when the muscles are really tight and there has that scar tissue because you feel like while you apply like 2 pounds of pressure, it feels like somebody's putting the 10 pounds of pressure on it. And then depending on the different activities, you have different they did teach us a lot about specific repetitive injuries for certain sports, certain activities, and stuff like that. And then ones that a lot of people typically come in, like iliopsoas, sciatica, and stuff like that. It tends to be a very popular one, especially I was learning this in a like very office office manager area. So a lot of the recovery stuff was more about, like when people are on the computer all the time and they're like programmers or something, they get what they call, sorry, shoulder earrings, where their shoulders end up way up back here because they're doing this all day long and they don't have it lined up right and everything. So I've seen people who are so bad at that where they will take an entire hour-long massage just to get this thing loosened up, and they are so sore when you first start touching them. It's like like just a little gentle pressure like this on them feels like you're driving your thumb down into them. And
Yeah.
and you'll have, and some people when they first start and they have their shoulders up like this, or even like, I know bodybuilders do have the neck that will go straight up into the head sometimes, but these
They
people
have no
are
necks.
bodybuilders
Football
and they have,
players have no necks.
yeah, but these guys are doing it
Yeah.
because they always are raising their shoulders. They don't, like I said, it's very it's back. It's almost like a repetitive motion, but it's ergonomics. And when you get somebody like that, you're like, hey, so do you type a lot? Well, yeah, I do. Like, do you have a chair with an adjustable height? Because you might want to bring that chair up or your desk down, or a
Oh,
lot of times, like
see,
the whole point of most of the therapeutic stuff is. Which I thought was hilarious because they waited a year to tell us this, and it's stuck in my head ever since. The whole point of therapy is to put yourself out of work. So you're supposed to be giving them advice and giving them ways of helping themselves long term. And it's like, so my job is to put myself out of a job. Okay. I mean, rightfully so.
Well,
in theory.
but but hopefully they will have friends who have the same issue that they will refer you to them, and let them come and let you work on them. So, hopefully it won't put you out of a job completely. But yeah,
Oh,
that's pretty much true because once you don't need it anymore. But the couple of massages that I've had, they always would say, like, is there a certain area you want me to work on or anything like that? And I would always be like, no, and they would start feeling around. And before you know it, it would be like, oh my gosh, yeah, it's like, that's the spot right there, and they can find all those areas that are so knotted up that it's so knotted up in there that you, like you said, you overcompensating and you don't even realize anymore that that's bothering you because you've done shifted so many other things to deal with it. And then when they start releasing it, you're like, oh my goodness, I really had some problems there, but you just don't realize because over time your body like just moves so little. But I'm glad you brought up about the working out, the warming up, because so many people that have never gone to a gym and never had a trainer don't realize how important doing a warm up and doing a cool down is when it comes to your muscles. And I think a lot of people get that thing in their head, no pain, no gain. Okay, but you don't want pain. You're not trying to hurt yourself. You're not trying to cause an injury. You're trying to do it gently to where your muscles will, strengthen, but not put it to where you're out for 6 weeks because you've torn something or whatever. So I try to make sure people understand, especially like with me, I have arthritis. And when I sleep at night, when I wake up in the morning, I mean, I feel like I'm 100 years old. It's like I can barely move anything. And I have to really do a lot of, little stretching, moving around to get things
Oh yeah.
moving. But so when I exercise, it's like I'll move a certain way and it's like, man, my back is still really tight. Let me loosen this back up before I do something because I've had back surgery. So I do not want an injury to my back,
Right.
so like I may be exercising along, but I'll stop and be like, oh, I need to work this out a minute because, I can tell it's tighter than it should be or whatever. But I don't think a lot of people realize that. I think they just think, oh, you just pick up the weights and you just start going at it. And then they have an injury and they're like, yeah, I don't want to work out.
Yeah.
You know,
It hurts. I don't
but
want to do it
no,
anymore.
you can do it slow and lighter weights. And I try to get people to understand too that no matter if it's cutting back calories or increasing your activity, you have to continue to be able to increase or decrease if you want to lose weight. And so if you start out eating like, 500 calories, where are you going to go from there? So start out like at 1800 calories and then cut back eventually to 1200 and so that you have somewhere to go. And the same thing with the exercise. You start out going too hard, you're not going to be able to keep that up and you're not going to have anywhere to increase from.
Right.
So you have to kind of, start slow and let your body, build up. But a lot of people, they'll look at my exercise video and they're like, does that even work? And it's like, let me tell you, you don't think it's working. And then you'll realize, oh, I can walk longer than I used to be able to walk. Or, oh, I can lift up my 35-pound granddaughter and not even think about, okay, I've got to lift. It's like you just reach down and pick her up because you've got more upper body strength than you had before.
Before it was plant your
Yeah.
feet, think about how you're going to pick her up, and then
Yeah. And now it's just like, and she'll run and want me to, catch her mid jump, and before I could never do that. I would be like, whoa, wait, now let Granny get ready before Granny gets you, and now I'm just like, okay. And I'll just pick her up
come
and go.
on.
The other thing I wanted to mention is I have had both my Achilles tendons ruptured completely. Now, the first one, I did not have surgery right away. And I wore the boot and stayed off my leg and all that. And then my tendon actually was too long. And so when I would walk, I was kind of like dragging my heel. And so I did eventually have surgery and had it fixed. And then about 8 years later, I tore the other side, the other one. That one I decided not to have surgery because in that 8-year time frame, they did enough studies that people in my age group don't actually benefit that much from having the surgery, that you should try to let it heal. And if it heals good, you're good. So I did that and it healed beautifully. My left one is in better shape than my right one probably will ever be because it was surgically repaired, which to me means I've got more of that scar tissue, built up in there from having the surgery. But there are certain medications, and I've learned this since I had both of mine torn. There are certain medications that actually do make your tendons weaker. So
I didn't know that, but I believe it.
Yeah, like that's like one of the side effects. And I'm sure it was, one of the medications I took for, 20 plus
Those
years and didn't
handles.
even know. And so there's a lot of, because most of the time when you hear somebody's torn their Achilles, it's a basketball player who jumped and landed wrong and snapped it,
Well,
things like
I
that.
always
It's
watched
not
football,
little
so I saw
lady.
football. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what it is over time. And like with different medications, they can weaken to the point that I didn't even do anything real strenuous. I just basically twisted my ankle and stepped down and it was enough for it to snap, So I think the more you have happened to yourself or to other people around you, the more you can become aware that, certain things happen, not only as we age, but just the lifestyles that we lead, how they can affect those kind of things.
And how much more we
have you
need
ever
massage
done-
to keep our bodies,
Yes. And I was just going to say, I know that when I've had physical therapy, especially on my back, there was a lot of like using heat and like warm compresses. And then I would get like a massage and I even did the traction thing where they loosen you up and then they put you in the traction trying to pull those vertebrae apart a little bit. So
Are you talking about the invert?
Yeah. And I also had a thing where they actually like hooked something to my upper body and something to my lower body. And there was like a crank and I could feel it like pulling it.
That's called the
apart.
rack.
Yeah.
No kidding.
The rack.
They've called that the rack since the 14th
Yeah.
century.
No. I was actually just referring to the 14th century rack. I don't know what you put on. I'm saying that's called a rack. You pull 2 horses this way, 2 horses that way.
I'm thinking the Addams family.
But there's just a lot of techniques, I think, that we don't even know that are available. Like, you know, like when I've had somebody get me a massage before, and it's like, I don't know what kinds of massage. I don't know what to ask for. I just am like, okay, whatever, you know, whatever. When they ask you the questions and you're like, sure, whatever, you
Well,
know, because I don't know. I'm not educated on it.
well, one experience I had with other is I went, oh my gosh, I've got this tremendous migraine, 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 migraine. Okay, rub the temples, migraine, migraine. He goes, okay. And he starts playing, and he goes, hold this spot, put pressure on this spot for 90 seconds, count to 90. And I counted to 90, and he goes, okay, now let it go. And right then and there, as soon as I let it go, boom, my migraine was over. It was just that if you know those points and those spots, it was just that easy. And every time I get a migraine, I go right back to that spot and I hold it, and it's amazing. He goes right there, just right there. It's amazing the things you can learn just by knowing the body and the massage and the pressure points. Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
what was said earlier,
What's that?
I gotta say about the whole like no pain, no gain. That is the thing that a lot of people say, but you don't realize like everything you do, whether it be exercise or massage, even there, or even facilitated stretching, where I'm manually stretching a person, where like they don't have the range of motion, so you're trying to get it. Is is you want to get them to the point of discomfort, not pain, because
Yeah.
everything
Right.
anytime you ever work out, you'll feel it more the next day when you wake up. Don't worry, the pain will come on its own. You don't want to cause it ahead of time, because if you're already putting yourself to the maximum amount of pain you can tolerate, and then tomorrow it's going to be a little more, well, guess what, now you're having to take ibuprofen, Tylenol, uh, Advil, all the different things just to get moving, and again, now you're going to be discouraged from doing it again in the future. That's also why people talk about, oh,
Yes.
it's leg day or it's arm day or something, because you also have to have that recoup time. And if you do sections of your body at a time, it allows that to recoup while you're working on the other one. And then you don't lose that time that you already got together. But again, it's up to the point of discomfort, not technically pain. Unless, unless,
And I've heard that too. Like when you're doing it, and this is what I try to do to be able to increase the number of repetitions. It's like I go until I know I can do 10. Okay, let me try 11, and then when I'm like, I think 11 is it, I'll do 12, and then I stop. It's like I don't want to go too far because it will hurt the
Yeah.
next day, but yet I want it to be enough that I feel like I am, increasing it
Progressing.
every
Mhm.
time. But you're right about the rest days in between. And I've talked about that in my videos too. You know, if you don't give your body a chance to heal, it can't recuperate. And then you can't do it the next time. And like you said, you're going to get discouraged because eventually you're going to be like, every time I work out, I'm in pain the next day. I can't do it. And I've thought about that, arms one day and legs another day, but I need to work my core. So I work my core, would want to work my core every day. And I know that's not good. So I just right now do it 3 days a week, but I want to work up to doing it 4 days a week eventually. Hello, bells and stars. Welcome. But I do think another thing with the massage is people look at it as it's a luxury. That's like pampering. Oh, I'm going to get a massage. Instead of looking at it like, especially if your body's out of whack, you might need to just go get a massage just for you know, not as a pampering type thing, but just as part of your care for yourself that occasionally do get a massage. And I know a lot of massage places like sell packages where you can get so many massages,
Oh yeah.
in a 6-month period, something like that.
Yeah.
So, um,
Yeah, well,
and
I
I
a
also,
list
I knew a
of
guy,
things that positive things that can happen with just a massage, and I thought it was really interesting. Like other was mentioning the detoxifying when you were talking about and cleansing the body and getting it moving
yeah,
again, boosting immunity. Stress, anxiety. We know that it really calms us down. It helps with our sleeping, improves circulation, which was another thing other had brought up that improves in circulation, reducing pain, And that was the biggest thing that we've talked about was trying to get that shoulder back to where it belongs without hurting something else, tweaking something else out of place. Affects flexibility, emotion of range, and mood improvement and energy. It raises your energy, and it helps with dehydration as well.
Well, now that's what I was talking about before with you're talking about raises your energy. That's that there's different types, and you had mentioned that, like some people need massage to get to that step that they need to help them as more of a medical or a actual physical help. While there's those for sports massage, definitely it increases your energy, gets you up and moving, and that's like I said, it does a lot of percussion and stuff like that. Meanwhile, there are relaxation massages, which is what most people think of when they think of massages, the relaxation style massage. And that's when they start going, oh, that's a luxury. But, self care, well, I mean, obviously this is called self care Sundays, but self care is not always a luxury. You have to put into yourself in order to get out of yourself. And so, I mean, yeah, it's a luxury as much as eating ice cream sometimes is a luxury, like that. Sometimes that's what you need. Sometimes playing that one song you really like is a luxury. Yeah, but we live in a life of luxury. I mean, I'm sitting in a house that's lit by Christmas lights. Like how luxurious is that? I mean, that's really awesome. So we live that life. Yeah, it's that little bit that makes.
But see, that's the thing. We get so conditioned, like you're not supposed to enjoy your life. Like you're supposed to work,
Stress.
It's like all this stuff you're supposed to do, and nobody ever says, oh, and by the way, enjoy your life as you're doing all those things that you have to do. It's like there are certain things that we get to do that are fun, and they should be fun. And I don't think until people either have a heart attack or like me retire and realize I've wasted a lot of years and not enjoying my life, things like that you realize that stress is what really makes you unhealthy. It's not all the, other things. I mean, it's a combination of everything. Hi, BJ, welcome. But I really think that we need to, become a society where we tell people, you should go get a massage, or you should take time to rest. That's another thing. I mean, I used to always think sleep was a waste. Sleep was a total waste. That's just time I could be doing something else. And now I know how important sleep is to your health and your mental state and your mood and everything now, to where sleep is just as important to me as watching my diet and exercising is. It's like it's an important part of my life. And I never felt like that before. I always thought I could do without sleep.
Well, there is a thing, actually, the term that I've heard quite a bit lately is sleep hygiene. There is a thing of sleep hygiene and making sure everything is at the right time and having the schedule down and having, like all that stuff that's in your brain. And a lot of times we take things as luxuries, meaning we don't need it or we don't deserve it or something like that. But I mean, time off, even from work, the weekend, is there and it's shown. I did quite a bit of training for management, and they showed that a 40-hour work week is about the highest percentage per hour of production you can get out of a person. It's actually a little less, but we'll do the extra 40 to make it nice even. But they also lined it up like per day. 8-hour shift is actually about right. Any hours past that, the production goes down by like a percentage. They show that it does. Any hours after 50, it dramatically decreases. So, I mean, while you may not need this, and you're like, it's a luxury, and like, but that might be what pushes you to get like, I take it down to a cost benefit analysis. You know what I mean? Like if I can spend $30, get a short massage, just get a relaxation, but I go to work the next day and get 20% more work done, that alleviates my brain from all that stuff that's in there. And then I don't have to worry about that. So that's not only physically relaxing me, it's now letting my brain take a stand down and like, okay, I got that stuff done. And then, like just step by step, and it all is about keep going. But the problem is I mean, between us and the UK, especially, like there is a huge difference in our work environments. Like the US,
Mhm.
Okay, I'm U.S. just to clarify. And when I say we, I mean myself in the U.S. Uh, we typically use our vacation days at the end of the year because we're going to lose them. And usually it's like, okay, well, I only worked 40 hours this week. I'll only work 40, but then I'll take another 10 for vacation. So I got 50 paid for this hour. And then I have to use another 30. So every week I'm going to add 10 more vacation hours I'm going to take during my weekends. And then I will have it all used up. Meanwhile, the UK is like, I don't even have vacation days. I'm gonna take. I need some me time, and they take that time and everything, and they have a much healthier life work balance than we have in the U.S. So I mean, like,
Yeah, I totally agree. I worked 17 years for Walmart, and at the end, I had 4 weeks vacation a year. And I would maybe take a week twice a year. And then the other 14 days, I would do exactly like you said. I would add it in where I could here and there and use it up because I didn't feel like I needed 4 weeks of vacation. And I probably needed 8 weeks of
Well,
vacation,
you're in a
but
state of use it or lose it, right? Every year, aren't you? You're in
yeah,
that kind of state.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, some states are like that, and
Mhm.
California is not like that.
Yeah, I know a lot of places too, like if you get sick days, you can roll them over
Yeah,
or accumulate
I mean,
them.
at one time I had
Yeah.
12 weeks of vacation, all piled up.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. You're muted again, honey. Oh, he's probably talking.
so when I was in California, actually, I was working. I won't say what company, but I was working for a company that got in trouble because they weren't because you actually had to get approval after you applied for vacation time. And they were declining it so much that people literally could not take their vacation time by the end of the year. And what was happening was they had all these people and they only allowed you up to 2 years. Even in California, they only allowed us up to roll up to 2 years maxed out. At that point in time, you lost it. And there was a class action lawsuit because, sue happy, right? Class action lawsuit. And
Right?
all of a sudden, all of us got like all our workers and all that stuff with all those like hundreds of hours that we lost throughout because I was with that company for like 14 years. So, this is like 7 years. And so 7 years, and I probably have used maybe 3, 4 weeks of vacation because if I'm on vacation, I'm spending money. I don't want to do that. That's just not what I want to do. So I'm going to get a big
Mhm.
settlement from this, right? I get like a $150 check. I'm like, that what? The lawyers get all the big part of the money. That's always how it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but the company had to institute a new thing. And what they did was if you got to the max out when the next year goes to roll over, they automatically cash you out and put it on your final paycheck right
Yeah.
before starting to add the hours back to it. And they did that to avoid that lawsuit. And the whole point of the lawsuit is allow us to go have our vacation, not just give us money and pay
Right.
it out. They're like, well, we can just avoid getting sued again if we just give you the money. Well, how about you just
Right.
give us time off?
And so nobody ever takes vacation.
The
It
whole
rolls
reason
over.
to have
And they get a little
vacation time
bonus.
is to take time off work. Yeah,
Well,
but then again, like you said, in our society, we don't value taking time
Yeah.
off because why? Be at work, do your job, da 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 da. You're not going to get ahead if you're not there, and blah blah blah.
and I would say
Mm,
like, okay, I have
yeah,
done retail and stuff, so that's a lot less. But anytime I had a job with responsibilities, did anybody else ever notice when you take a vacation, nobody seems to understand you're on vacation? You still get those phone calls, those emails, those like, hey, what's going on with this? You're like, on vacation, on vacation. If you turn your phone off, by the time you turn it back on, getting back to work, they're like on top of you. You're like, oh my God, I need a vacation from my vacation. This is just not
Or
even funny
or
anymore.
they just put it
mhm,
aside until you get back. They put it aside until you get back, and then you get back from a nice restful vacation, and you got this stack of paperwork that hasn't been done while you were gone. That's another reason why I never took off, was because I it's not really worth it. I'd rather just
Mhm.
stay on top of it, you know.
and that is true. That when in a lot of positions, if you're not there, the work doesn't
That's a
get
good thing.
done, or at least not to your standard. So when you do come back from vacation, it's like working double
Well, you've
time
got the
to
snack,
get
and then you've
things,
got all
back.
all the fires you've got to put out. that happened while you were gone. That you
You got all the
couldn't take care of
backlog.
at the
Yeah.
time. Well, now
And then
they're
you still have your
blazing.
current stuff coming through.
Yeah. It's crazy though. But what about like flex time workers? I know that in other countries they do that a lot where like two people make up one employee.
Oh.
So that one of them is always there, but the other one is having days off or, vacation or whatever, but they both know the job, and can cover that. You think they would do that here in the States? Oh no.
Oh, no, they
They'd be
do.
like, what? We're not having two people with one thing. They
Well,
do.
Sophia, it's illegal
They,
here
they
too.
actually do.
It's illegal
Yep.
here too. If you're not on the clock, they're not supposed to contact you unless you're
What-
salary.
Yeah.
But that doesn't stop them. So
That
it's a
doesn't
cell
stop
phone.
them.
It doesn't stop them.
Mhm.
Anytime, any day. I was on regular hourly wages, and they would text me at 10 o'clock at night. They would text me at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They would text me anytime they thought about me. They would text me, and I had to take care of it right there.
Now, did I misunderstand that? Are you talking about like factory workers do, 4 12s and then 3 days off and then 3 12s and then 4 days off and then they go back and forth. And so effectively they're on a 12-hour rotating shift. So there's always one person, and usually it's actually 4 people. And it's 3 days on, 3 days off. So that the first shift of the AMs, and then this one does PMs, and then they rotate on that and they go back and forth. So yeah, it's effectively one 24-hour job being done by 4 people
Yeah.
on rotating A, B, C, and D shift. They do that a lot in like factories and stuff like that. They'll do that kind of
Like
thing. Yeah.
factories. Yeah.
And what it ends up being
Yeah.
is you get a week of 48 hours and a week of 36 hours back and forth.
I wonder if they've done studies on that. How does it affect your body if you work that kind of swing shift where you're not on a set shift, like when you're constantly having to
mind.
change, might change your sleep pattern too,
Oh, yeah.
That switching
You would never
between,
know
like,
whose
even-
day or night or what day it was. Oh,
that actually is so now I was just talking about they're always on AM shift, but they're going 3 days on, 4 days off, 4 days on, 3 days off. They're always on AM shift, and that somebody's always on their counterpart
Yeah.
on PM shift, and then there's the
Right.
opposite days off. So they're not really changing hours. But if you're doing like changing hours back and forth, that's actually what a lot of cops do. Police officers, they'll do like 8-hour shifts, but like I don't know if it's because they're trying to sort out the coveted spots or something, but they'll be like 3 months of AM shift, and then they'll do 3 months of mid shift, and then they'll do 3 months of PM
Mhm.
grade. Okay, so what is it? First, second, and third is what the East Coast calls them, or day, swing, and grave
Yeah.
in California. And the worst I ever had was I actually had a job where I had 2 days swing shift, 1 day off, 3 days grave shift, 1 day off. And my boss, I love his attempts to make this. It's like you get 2 weekends a week. And I'm like, it's like I get 36 hours off twice.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I worked a job for a long time. There was 2 weeks of day shift and then 2 weeks of PM. So I did 2 weeks of day shift, then 2 weeks of PM, then 2 weeks of day shift. So your body's just starting to get regulated, right? And then they switch it again. And then your body just starts to get regulated and they switch it again. Let me tell you, the people in my group, in my team, we had more car accidents during that spurt. And it was about 6 months of it. We had more car accidents of the commuters going home and coming to work because they were just sleep deprived, numb in the head. Yeah. And I'm thinking, if this is happening, what do you think they're doing at work? They can get hurt even at work,
Yeah. Well, see,
Yeah.
when I was at Walmart, if you worked first or second shift, they could put you on at, to stay till 11 o'clock at night and have you be back at 6 a.m. the next morning. And so that's why I spent a lot of time working overnight, because at least it was the same shift every day.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do that quick turnaround.
And now in California, there has to be 8 hours, isn't it? Right? 8 hours before you can be on another shift.
That actually depends. You can do less than 8 hours, but it is then considered a continuation of the previous one, and it could elaborate in California into overtime. If you don't
Yeah,
have
see,
8 hours
Overtime.
rest,
Yeah.
it's considered
That's
overtime.
the reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. And see, and where Echo is, I'm sure it's considered 40 hours a
Yeah.
week, not 8 hours a
there's
day.
not overtime
Yeah.
unless it's over 40 hours a week. And Walmart
We-
was
we get-
notorious for having you stay when they were busy. And then when they weren't busy, before that week would be over, send you home early. And that way you actually might have worked 12 or 14 hours straight, but then you went home early one day, so you never got overtime. You stayed under getting overtime.
See now that is one, very shady, obviously, but two, technically it is an agreement between you and them to accept that you go home. If they send you home, they still have to pay you for your entire thing. If they hadn't scheduled you 20, we just talked about this earlier, 24 hours in advance. If they hadn't scheduled that, they are making a change to your thing and actually owe you that time that you are there.
If you want to push it, you can do that.
Yeah.
They are
I imagine
skating the law.
there's a lot of things that, are laws and they're not supposed to do, but a lot of people don't know the law. And so it's kind of, you kind of feel threatened, like you either do what we need you to do or we don't need you. And Georgia is a no fault state. They don't have to give you notice. They don't have to tell you why. Anything. They can just say, we no longer need your services and you're fired. So yeah, I think a lot of people,
Now California's the same way. But the issue
like,
is,
do you really want to fight it? I just want to go home. I just want to go home. I don't want to fight it. I just want to go home.
they're an at-will employment, and so
Let's
that
be
they can release you for any reason, and they can release you for no reason, like we just no longer need your services. But the
Right.
fine line is, if they give you a reason, it has to be a legitimate reason. So that's why they often say, don't answer it, just say we no longer need your services.
Right.
But if they ever tell you that and then replace you with somebody else, that opens them up to a lawsuit, because obviously they still needed your services and let you go even though they needed it and had to replace you. So, but then again, you have to keep track of what they're doing and stuff. And
still
who
available.
wants to do that?
Yeah. Well, and like Walmart was always,
Okay.
really, really good about, because I did a lot of hiring, and like when somebody calls you for a reference at Walmart, all Walmart will say is if the person is rehirable or not.
That's all you're supposed to say.
I was only told there's
And-
only two options. One is, did they work for you, and are they rehirable? Are the only two options we're allowed to answer.
Yeah. And if you can do a lot of things according to Walmart policy and be terminated. And yet after a 6-month period, 99% of those people are rehirable. And it doesn't matter what their offense was. Now, I always had trouble with that, because if the person, calls out all the time, 6 months later, there's still going to be somebody who calls out all the time. It was like, there was a lot of things. I'm like,
You just got a 6-month vacation.
Yeah.
That's it.
And then we
But then
had
again, I think what Walmart's trying to do is like get them to go somewhere else. Give them 6 months. They're going to have another job because nobody can really go 6 months without money. And then there's somebody else's problem. And then we don't have lawsuits saying we can't rehire them.
True.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
In theory, that would be nice. But a lot of people will just chill until the 6 months is up.
Well, and I think too, it depends on what kind of job it is, whether or not people are going to even fight to keep it. Some jobs you can just go right down the street and find somebody else hiring and get another job, and it's no big deal. I think if you have an education and a certain level of experience and you're making a certain amount of money, you're not going to just be so willing to give that job up. And you may, end up fighting that if you get let go or whatever. I know even with me,
Well, I know.
I was going to say, even
Go
with
ahead.
me,
I'm sorry.
when after my injury and everything, and it was determined by my doctors that I was not going back to work, um, Walmart was like, we'll let you come back if you can get the doctor to sign off that you're, able to come back. And I'm like, now, why would my doctor, after he's already filled out paperwork and told you I'm not able to come back, but you want him to change that opinion? And then if he signs a paper saying I'm okay to come back, you'll let me come back.
That's
It's
because
like,
they'd rather pay you for
yeah.
some work than have their insurance pay you for no work.
And luckily, and this is, I tell everybody, if your job offers you short term and long term disability, pay it no matter what it costs you to have
Yeah.
that. Because with me, I was out with the short term disability. And after you're out for so many, months or whatever, it goes into the long term. And long term disability, they don't want to have to pay you for a long period of time. So they will help you get disability so that you're claiming your disability insurance and you're no longer being paid by them. So, and a lot of people have such a hard time getting disability approved, but when you've got a company that's got lawyers and all of that, they can help get those things done. So I was like, I
Yeah,
told my
I got
daughter,
it
I
on my
said,
last job. I got it on my last
I don't
job
care
just
what.
because it was the big box store, and I'm thinking
Mhm.
I don't need short term and long term, and I'm thinking, yeah, but I'm dealing with forklifts and
Yep.
beams and
Yep.
heavy stuff. I'm thinking I may cut off a finger, just something
Yep.
silly, It's not silly, but not.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
I may need that. I'm not dealing with eggs and bacon anymore. I'm dealing with, And I went, yeah. And it really came in handy. And by
Yeah.
saying when you got on long-term disability, whew, they jumped all over it. They were calling me all the time. Have you heard from them?
Yeah.
Have you heard from them? Have you heard from them?
Yeah. Because they don't want to have to pay you, It's
Uh-huh.
like you've only and really most of the
Yes.
time the short term and the long term are so affordable that you're not hardly paying anything for it. And if you do ever have to file a claim, they're losing money. So that's what that's what they're
Yeah.
hoping for, is that a lot of people are paying for the premiums and nobody ever files a claim.
I think it
But
was like a buck.
yeah,
A
it's
month or something. It was
unreal
something really
what it costs you. It doesn't cost you hardly anything. And I told my daughter, I said, I don't care if it's accident insurance, cancer insurance, life insurance. I don't care what they offer you. You get everything you can get, because that's just that much more at a group rate that you're not having to go out individually and get. And even if you never use it, if you have to use it, it'll be, you'll be glad that you had it. Because I was the same way. I never had any of that kind of insurance. I was like, what is this? I don't need that, But
Yeah.
boy, am I thankful I had it. And I'm thankful I had stocks too, because
Yeah.
several times throughout my time at Walmart, I took loans against my stocks
Yeah.
in order to buy a car. When I had my hysterectomy, I had to pay my surgeon like $800 up front. Yeah, I just had that laying around, I'm like,
Yeah.
no, let me get a loan and pay that. And then when I did
Yeah.
finally
Just dig in
leave
my
Walmart,
mattress, and that's all the money I need. Yeah.
yeah. And then when I did finally lose Walmart, I was like, yeah, okay, well, I could use the extra money because I was moving, and I'm like, yeah, I'll just sell these stocks and be done with it, But hey, anything like that you can get out of a company, take it, because it will pay off in the long run. And I don't think we tell young people that, and you don't tell young people about saving money either.
I remember when I first ever had to sign up for unemployment. Like I felt so discouraged and all that. Like I even was burning through my own savings just because I'm like, no, I don't need it. I'm employable. I'm employable. And then I got all the way down to unemployment, and I'm like, I don't, and I mean, honestly, it's a lot harder now, but it was pretty easy and everything. And I'm like, is that all it takes? They're like, yeah, don't worry, we got you. You're like, well, you'll get a paper in the mail and you'll fill it out, send it back. And it was so much easier. And I didn't, and I felt bad because I feel like, as I'm told through most of my life, um, that, you need to work, you do your part, all that stuff. And what I didn't realize is you pay into unemployment your entire working career, your entire work time, you're paying into that unemployment insurance. So if it's available, you're not taking from anybody except for what you've been putting in. And most people go their entire life without doing unemployment. So that means there's all that
Yeah.
they put in. And after, I think it's so many months or something, they only hold it for like 2 years or something like that, go back for that or something. The COVID, they even went back 3 years or something to pull back that money. Now that means anything past 3 years, that's just government money. It's done. It's gone. Like they don't count that towards you anymore. So I when I
Yeah.
realized I'm just getting my own money back that I've been giving them, I didn't feel so bad.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's the same thing with the disability. You know, you're paying
Yeah.
into Social Security, but you're also paying into Medicare and disability as you're
Hmm.
working. And so many people never claim any of that. And this is, I don't know if many
Oh
people know
no.
this because I didn't know this, but when you're just going to retire and you reach 62 and you decide, okay, I want to retire, you're going to take your retirement, as they say, early, and you're not going to
Right.
get your full benefit. But if
Correct.
you're on
Hmm.
disability when you reach 62, you stay on disability, which is actually like the full amount of your what your Social Security would be. And you would stay on that until you reach full retirement age. And then that way your benefit doesn't end. But like say with me, if I was to say now that I'm 62 and I don't want to be on disability anymore, I want to be on regular Social Security, my check would be cut
Yeah.
because I would be getting my retirement at the lower rate. But if I stay on disability until I'm 67 or whatever, my check amount isn't going to change.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue on like I'm going. But so many people were like, don't you want to get off disability when you're 62? And I'm like, if it's beneficial, I mean, I'm not going to do it if it costs me money, you know. And when I went and talked to them, and
Yeah.
they were like,
And
no, 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 you don't want to have Social Security at 62 if you can help it. You want to wait
right.
until your full retirement
Yeah.
age. And I was like, okay, well, as long as, it's all on the up and legal, I'll do whatever, y'all want me to do. And I also found that out too, that the older you are when you go on disability, not only the easier is it to get the disability, but they don't check on your condition like they do. Say you're 30 and you're deemed disabled. They're going to continually
Hmm.
want doctors to verify that you are still disabled. But if you're,
Oh.
55 when you become disabled and it's a chronic condition, you're not going to get better 9 times out of 10, And so they're not going to be constantly wasting their money and resources having you go through the process and keep checking on you. So it does
Right.
make a difference when how old you are when you do get disabled. And I think a lot of people don't understand too that you need to be working right up until you're disabled. A lot of people become where they can't work, but they don't file for disability right away. And they're just unemployed for a period of time. And then they want to try to get the disability. And it's like you
That
need to
gap is
have
dead.
had recent, yeah, recent employment and have even, if you have to have where, you were a full-time employee and then it had to cut down to, an extra day off a week or shorter hours or, went to part-time and,
Underemployment.
whatever it might be. But, people who just, and I actually know a lady who she hadn't worked in like over 10 years. And then she decides to file for unemployment or not unemployment, but for disability. And it's like actually, they deem it like you have no work history because it's been so
Yeah.
many years since you were employed. And the same thing with going to the doctor. If you like never told the doctor, you know, in the past 10 years, you never complained of having a bad back. And then all of a sudden you want to file disability because you have back issues. They're going to be like, no, it doesn't work like that. You know, it's got to be something that has been plaguing you for a period of time and getting worse. And then you need a good doctor who is going to say, you know, this condition causes, because even with that, I can remember them asking me all these questions about how did my things that was wrong with me, how did that prevent me from doing my job? You know, and I'm like, well, in my case, it was pretty easy because, you know, Walmart is concrete floors. And if you have a balance issue where you could fall over at any moment, they don't want you falling over and hitting your head. And, you know, so it wasn't that difficult for me. But for a lot of people, it is, because if their job will let them sit down instead of stand up, they can still do the job if they can sit. Things like that. They're not going to just say automatically, oh, here, we'll give you disability, you know.
And even then, there's like a percentage of disability, like so your percentage of disabled. So then they only give you a part of it, because technically you could get a job for part of it. And yeah, it's like, you know, if you have constantly cramping up hands, that could be a disability, but that's only the jobs that require you to, you know, use both hands all the time, you know?
And two, if you are of a certain age and say that you have you're a construction worker, you know, a very physical type of job, and you get a back injury. Okay. Now you can't do construction, but you can do a sit down job. So they might even pay you to go to school to get a different kind of job. Like with me, it wasn't, oh, well, you could do something else. It was just like, no, you're done. You know, you're not going to work. And then again, too, I think depending upon your pain, you know, you'll think you'll have good enough days to be able to go to work. And I really did struggle with that when I first became disabled, that I really felt like, no, I could still go to work. But then just going to the grocery store would tire me out. And I would be like, yeah, no, I can't. You know, I have to accept the fact I'm not physically able to do that anymore. But I think that's a lot of, you know, some people, they think, oh, there's no way I could work, and they really could, or they think they can work and they really can't work, you know.
Well,
I don't know how we got off on this subject, my disability, but you know, what'd you say?
I said I went to the CMP on my disability, you know, where they do the final testing and they got all the paperwork together. I told her about this. They didn't ask me anything physical, nothing physical. And you'll understand why people call me a ditz. They asked me mind questions, like who's the president? Who was the president before that? Who was the president before that? What is it? And they were asking me all these questions. And he goes, okay, thank you very much. And I went, you don't want to? And I was sitting in office. He goes, I go, you don't want to? You don't want it? And he goes, no, we're good. And within a week, I was signed up with disability. So I didn't get it for physical. I got it for being a ditz. I ask other. My brain is so fried anymore. It doesn't work at all.
Well, it was like I had to go. I had to go to one doctor appointment, and at that doctor's appointment, they did like a psych eval type thing, and they asked me if I ever had been diagnosed with any mental illnesses. And I said no. Mm-hmm. And they said, you know, did I have any symptoms or anything? And I said, you know, and this was just like me talking to you right now, very casual conversation. I wasn't thinking the implications of what I was saying. And I said, but you know, sometimes I wonder if I might be bipolar, because I'm usually very, very high or I'm very, very low. I could, you know, I've never been tested. I don't know. I could be bipolar. So when I got my final paperwork and everything, I was approved for disability, but they wanted me to have somebody to be responsible for my check, to help me pay my bills, manage my money. And I was like, okay, you know, I have my daughter. That's not a problem. I can do that. So then they set up a meeting with my local Social Security office and wanted me to bring in whoever was going to be responsible on my check. And so my daughter and I, we go and we're talking to the man and everything. And he said, do you have any idea why they want you to have somebody on your check? And I said, no, I really don't. I said, the only thing I can think about is I did mention that I might be bipolar, but I had never been tested or anything. And he was like, yeah, I don't think you're bipolar, and I don't think you need her to manage your money. So we're going to take that off, and you'll be, on your own or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, good. Thank you. But I'm thinking, how many people have said things like I did just in kind of, casual conversation that actually do have a problem and need to be checked? They should have checked. I thought they should have checked me. If I said I might be, then they probably should have looked into that, but they didn't. They were just like, no.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and I don't know if I got mine because of my diabetes and my diabetes complications, or because of my back injuries and because of my neuropathy in my feet. I think I got it for the whole combination. They just kind of looked at it and said, yeah, you wore out.
You're a mess.
You done.
Yeah, because they don't tell you. They don't tell you when they send the paperwork to you saying, okay, you're approved or disapproved. They don't tell you. The reason for it was, our conclusion was. They don't tell you any of that.
And you put down, it asks you all the ailments that you have, and you list everything on there. So it could be any number or a combination of the ailment, you don't really know. And it's not like you're going to call them up and ask them, gee, why am I disabled? How am I disabled? What did you conclude, And then they'd be like, well, maybe we need to rethink this, maybe
reevaluate again.
Yeah. It's like, no, I'll take that. I'm disabled. No problem. But I didn't like the idea that you had to wait 2 years to get Medicare. Okay. And of course, when I lost my job, I lost my medical insurance because it was during my job, which of course they offer you to keep it. But when you're paying it as a group plan and then you have to pay it as an individual
out of pocket,
it's so expensive. You can't afford to pay it. So I had to go 2 years without health insurance, and I was on insulin and I was on a lot of medications, and I was like, I'll never make it for 2 years. And just so happened, in the town my daughter lives in, the hospital had gotten this huge grant. And they had opened up a new clinic that was taking new patients, and it was all based on your income. So they helped me get my medication. I had free blood work, free x-rays, free doctor visit, everything. And that was the only way I survived those 2 years until I could get the Medicare. So I don't know how people just stop working and don't have insurance.
I paid the insurance out of pocket when I was in that limbo, and I am so glad I did, because that's when my lungs took a poop and I was in the hospital everybody knows that story. And I was just, I was thinking at the time, I'm putting out this money and I'm like, oh, this is killing me. But when that came about, I went, phew, like that short-term, long-term disability. I went, phew, I knew there was a reason I was doing that.
Yeah.
You can apply for Medicaid if you are waiting for SSI and I applied for everything. Because I didn't know what I was doing. I signed everything. I thought, they know the rules, they'll figure it out.
I never could get food stamps because my disability, even before I got federal disability, my long-term disability payment was more than the guidelines for the food stamps. So I never got food stamps, and I never got actual Medicaid for the state of Georgia because I think I made like $300 too much to get that. Now, if I had had a bigger family to claim, I could have probably qualified. But for one person, I made too much for that. I'm like, yeah, these guidelines.
I'm sorry, I'm giggling, folks. I'm sorry, I'm giggling. This was supposed to be massage therapy.
we do.
But
We get
I'm
off
like,
in
oh, this is
another
wonderful. I love
conversation.
it. Another is just bored. He's like, I have things to say. And you two old ladies just keep talking.
Well, you have to tell us to hush. You need to make a little sign.
We do this, honey. He knows you can't shut up, Mom.
I do
Usually I
want
can't
to
shut
talk
myself
about
up, so, yeah.
lymphatic massage, though.
Lymphatic drainage.
Yeah, because now I've heard that you really need to have somebody who knows what they're doing perform it on you. But I just watched an exercise video the other day, and the lady was saying that if you know where the points are, like you can do it to yourself. And it might not be like for somebody who has lymphedema, and all of the swelling and everything, but just to get your own lymphatic system to drain. So what are your views on that?
So yeah,
Dangerous.
no, that's exactly what I was going to go with. That is something that in the groups, in the classes that I was taking and everything, that they did talk a lot about is lymphatic drainage and stuff, and that is actually one of the most advanced ones that they actually taught at that degree program. And the reason is because for the most part, the way they described it, your your lymphatic system goes throughout your entire body. And what it does is it's effectively your recycle bin. It takes all the nasties in your body, in your blood, and all the different parts and brings them to a central place where they can be processed and everything. So lymphatic drainage is like big groups of spots that your body is pretty much said, let's get this stuff out of here. So it's a bunch of stuff your body doesn't want. So while keeping it moving and everything, which is what the drainage is about, is it instead of just sitting there, process brought down, have your body finally process it. So while it is good to have that, the drawback is a lot of times if you don't do it right, you're actually pushing it back into where it came from and making yourself sick. You can actually cause somebody who's, recovering from a cold. You're going to push all that stuff right back into their system, and they're going to go right back into that cold. I mean, it could be other things too that have been stuck in there for a while. So that is something that they, as I did not complete that degree, I did not go to that class, but they did say that is something that is very um, sorry, it is very
You read the
yeah,
chat. It's easy.
it's very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, but at the same time it can be very beneficial, but you have to be very careful. Like like when I was talking about, you always go towards the heart when it comes to the veins and everything because of the valves. It's just so much, like you're only doing, honestly, they say varicose veins aren't really that bad. They're damaged and stuff, but they're not nearly as bad as they look bad. Meanwhile, that thing is actually literally putting, like infections that your body's trying to process out and put them back into your system. Like, like your doctor always feels your under your neck right here. He's always feeling for, inflammation in your glands down there, because that's, if you have an infection, like an ear infection, you'll get swollen down here because it's trying to process out all that stuff. And you definitely don't want to push. You don't want to push that back up into that. But not only that, if you're draining and following it down, if I come down on this side and I'm pushing it down, I can end up sending it back up to the other side. I have one ear infection. Now I'm causing the other one to get, the nasties of it and start to spread it across.
Even worse.
Yeah. So that's what it's.
Yeah.
You can get backup really easy if you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. And it's really great for the body if it's done right, from what I understand. It's really wonderful. I even asked other at one time, about it. And it's like, if you don't know what you're doing, don't touch it. That's always been my philosophy. Don't touch it.
That's
yeah.
They really pounded into our head about that. But I mean, like our teacher did do it on a couple people who he found, like swelling in their glands and stuff. He's like, all right, let's just, now don't you guys ever do this unless you've been through the whole class and everything and know what you're doing and everything. But this will help you a lot. And like they seem to get a good benefit out of it. But like I said, he definitely scared us into the don't do it if you don't know what you're doing. You don't want to make things worse.
My friend Kathy that was on with me last night, she's the one that's got to have the breast removed from the breast cancer. And I thought that they had approved to do the reconstruction at the same time, but they didn't. So she is going to have 2 surgeries. But
Usually
she said they have.
Usually,
Yeah, she said something about they're going to
just
do
because they
like
want to
a
make sure
tissue expander under the skin after they do the to where she'll have room to have the implant put in. But anyway, she said that when she goes into the day before her surgery, she has to go and have a procedure done where they inject something that will go through her lymph nodes to where they'll be able to tell, because she's going to have them all removed from under her arm. And I don't know about the neck. I think just under the arm. But anyway.
It's the armpits and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that kind of got me thinking about, oh yeah, lymph nodes, that's part of the lymphatic system. And that would be, involved with all of that kind of stuff. And I think a little bit of knowledge can be dangerous if you don't know everything, So if you do go to have a massage, you kind of want to make sure the person knows what they're doing and it's a reputable place. You don't want to just do like 1-800-massage and have somebody show up at your house to do a massage on you or whatever,
You can do damage. You can do damage.
Yes. You definitely can.
Yeah.
And
Can
Tiff said
you do me
she
a
wished
favor
that
out there,
Medicaid
real quick,
paid for.
since we're changing subjects all over the place? Can you say
Uh-huh.
have a nice day in ASL or welcome? You can't say any of those things. Yes, you can. DJ is here, and he's hard of hearing. There you go. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Gail. Welcome. And DJ gave me the idea of putting the finger sign for the letters on my kids' videos, as I'm teaching them the alphabet. Yeah.
So another way to learn.
But I have to figure out if I can do it with my own hand or if I'm going to like find a picture of it or how I'm going to do it. But yeah, I was making a video earlier this morning and I was like, oh, you could put the finger signs in there if you knew what you were doing with that, but I haven't figured it out yet. So,
well, I learned excited and happy, and I learned those words because only thing I learned was like coffee and milk and things like that from working in restaurants. I learned all that stuff, but I never learned how to.
Yeah.
So
my daughter was going to go to.
A lot later.
She wanted to be a teacher at a deaf school, and there's I guess a pretty famous deaf school in Washington D.C., and that's where she wanted to go to college at. But then she had met her husband and found out that you have to live on campus the first year and can't live off campus. And so her boyfriend couldn't have went with her. And so that was a deal breaker for her. And so she ended up staying home and just became a regular teacher, didn't go to teach the deaf. But I thought that was really
just a regular teacher.
Yeah, she's just a regular old teacher.
Don't underestimate.
BJ says, haha, learn on YouTube. Yeah, I need to learn. Gallaudet. That is it. That is the school in Washington, D.C.
What is it called?
See, BJ knows everything. Gallaudet. Okay. It's after someone who like either did invent a lot of the sign language or was just a really big teacher of it. I'm not sure.
Okay. I figured it was Helen Keller School of something or something, you know what I mean? I want to learn sign language after watching Switched at Birth.
Switched at Birth. Interesting.
I never saw that. I'll have to check that out. So Tiff loves your room, honey. So can you just tilt up the camera back just a little bit so you can see more of the wall? Give Tiff a tour. I asked her if we give her a tour real quick. There she is. She's still here. Yeah, see? That's just his little corner. The whole room is his whole side of the room is covered. See there?
Oh, wow. And what is that? Just material or
Uh-huh. It's draping.
It's my tapestries.
Yeah, so
Beautiful.
and it's really nice. You just take it down, wash it, and put it back up.
Yeah. Great
See?
for when you can't paint the walls, you know. And
Isn't
I
that
love the
nifty?
lights. DJ Nico has got lights in his apartment or his house or wherever he lives. Anyway, he's got some that like change colors and do different
See?
things. And I was like, yeah, I need to get me some lights like that. Oh, Tiff says,
Yeah.
I'm here. She's looking at it. I love it.
Yeah.
Gail says, yeah, we could talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
How your environment affects your mental, emotional well-being. You know, if you're in an environment that isn't
you need something that makes you feel warm, feel
yeah,
comfortable,
something that,
and
you know,
it's conducive to what you want to feel, how you want to feel.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool though.
Yeah,
with
you
the
do. And that's
written on
that's
the walls.
that's him in a nutshell. If everybody saw those walls, that's him in a nutshell. We can't see that, honey. What does it say? We can't see that. What is it?
We were talking about, you
Mm-hmm.
were talking about somebody had different lights. So this is all the different lights I have at my house that I can turn on and off.
Oh,
Oh.
your light system.
And then if I go in
my goodness.
Oh wow.
to like
Yes.
dining room,
And then different colors of those lights.
and then I have
You
different
can have
like,
purple and
wow.
blue and green.
so
This-
this is my dining room. It's on. These are all the individual lights that I've now turned on.
Oh, are you?
And then I can press and hold, and then they have like the different types of white that you can have. But then you hit this little thing over here,
Uh-huh.
and now you have the entire wheel of color that you can change any of those lights.
Oh wow.
Not all the lights are that way.
That's
but
really
that's
Let me
cool.
tell you.
And then, in addition to that, we have.
Yeah, Tiff, I said make some tapestries.
I have automation on some of mine for Google Home. So, like, I have one that if I tell Google to turn my black lights on, it'll turn all the lights that are not black light able to turn off, and then turn all the ones that are black light able on. So the whole house goes to black light. I have one that's bedtime, which will just turn all the lights off for me, except for the Christmas lights around my bed. And then I have one that's party mode. So I have like a chandelier, like not a chandelier, but it's like 6 light bulbs. And I call it a chandelier, but it's not. It's just 6 light bulbs in my kitchen. And each one's a different color for the party mode.
Uh-huh.
And then it usually turns on my my Google Home thing to a music player and starts playing music. So it's
Oh wow.
yeah, those are all things I manually set
Oh,
up.
yeah, he's really good with those bells and whistles. He loves electronics, but that's
Yeah.
yeah.
I also have something here like
Exactly.
set up here that says like I'm home, so I just say okay Google I'm home, and then it does all the stuff that's checks the thermostat, checks all that stuff, sets it all up for coming home. There is ways of doing it so that
I know,
It
huh?
is-
I
it
get
is-
the same look.
geo-fenced. So as you leave the house, it will know that you left the house and then cause like your thermostat to turn off so that you're not cooling your house or heating your house depending on what time of year all the time while you're gone. And then as you're coming home, if you get within that geofence, that location of your house, it'll turn all the stuff on. So by the time you get home, it's already starting to cool down or heat up.
Wow. See, now, when I was newly married, my husband put everything on timers. Of course, this was back before cell phones and all of that. But you didn't want to take a shower except for at certain times because he had the hot water heater on a timer and you would get a cold shower. And then he would
Wow.
have the thermostat on the air conditioning set to where I couldn't even change it. So if I got too warm or whatever, I was just out of luck if he wasn't there to change it, So
Wow.
I think I would like something like that if I was in charge, but I don't think I want somebody else being in charge of my hot water and my air conditioning for me,
Yeah.
But I think it would be cool to be able to change all of that with just using it, using your phone to do that. I don't have any kind of like mood lighting or anything like that. I need to, and Nico was telling me, you can find anything. I mean, you just like type in what kind of lighting you want and you can find it, whatever it is. So I'm going to have to look
Yeah.
into that and I was never that kind of person that really cared about my environment that much, but I'm getting to where I can see how your environment does. Hi, Stephanie. Your environment does really make a difference in your mood and, you know,
Yeah, it does.
calmness and like meditating. Um, I wish that I had, I don't wish I had a bigger place because I have plenty of room, but I wish that it was divided into sections, like this is for meditating over here and this is over here for reading or, like that. But maybe one
You'll
day.
get there.
I think they
You'll
I
get
mean,
there.
I also want to live out in the country
You're
so I
doing your
can have
reorganizing
chickens.
right now, so you're getting it.
I want to be able to have chickens and I want to be able to have a big garden. So I need to move out of this apartment, that's for sure. But all that takes money. And I
Well, you're
don't know
not going to
about
get
where
very
y'all
far
live, but
anyway. So
ever since COVID, the rent is outrageous around here.
really,
I mean, yeah, it has gone crazy. And I'm kind of stuck in where I live because it is affordable. And I don't want to have to spend the majority of the income that I have on a place to stay, you know?
yeah,
So I've looked at different places and I'm just amazed at the condition of places and what they want to charge for the rent. It's just crazy, crazy, crazy.
and then it's not cheap to move.
No, it's not.
It costs money to move, to get a U-Haul or whatever, and pack up and then put
Or just
deposits on all of the utilities and stuff, and
transferring your lights and your,
transferring
all
things
your
over.
everything has a new either a transfer fee or a
Deposit.
new account setup or, whatever it happens to be. They, everybody just has their hand out, to put all this money. So that's another thing. I don't have the money to move. Even if I was to find a place that I could afford, I don't have the money to actually make a move. So, but my daughter
I can see
always,
you and your daughter and your granddaughter. I can see you guys getting a big place with a
yeah,
yard
well,
and
I was just going to say, my daughter always says, well, when I get a house, there'll be a room for you. And I'm like, that's all fine and great when I need a room, but as long as I'm independent, I don't want to be living in someone else's home. I want to have my own,
yeah,
because unfortunately, I'm getting more and more to where I want to do what I want to do, when and how I want to do it, and not answer to
yeah,
anybody else. So
yeah,
um,
yeah,
I'm
I get
glad
that.
that one day that'll be a good place for me to be, safe and not a lot of stress and all that. But for right now, as long as I can keep my head above water, I want to stay independent and not have to, do that. So it's bad enough she checks up on
What
me
about
every
having somebody in
weekend.
your space anymore? What about having somebody in your space anymore? What do you think about that? Is that like,
I,
don't touch my stuff? Have you
it's
been
not so
there
much
yet?
don't touch my stuff, but don't tell me what to do with my stuff.
There you go. Yeah.
Like
Oh,
um
I'm very different.
and that's kind of a big part of kind of finding myself, is that I want things the way I want them
Uh-huh.
and I don't want to have to compromise, like I feel like I spent so much of my life compromising to please other people, and now I don't want to compromise. I want
Right.
to do what I want, and if I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I want to turn the TV on or play music, I want to be able to do that without
Right.
worrying, oh, did I disturb somebody else,
Right.
or somebody else being like, what are you doing up at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Uh-huh.
It's like, well, I couldn't sleep, so I woke up. It's like I don't want to have to, worry about what somebody else. And I guess I'll never have a partner as long as I don't want to be considerate of someone else's feelings. And right now, I don't want to be considerate.
Yeah.
It's like, no,
You've earned it.
it's my place. I'm going to
You've
do
earned
what
it.
I want to do. I guess eventually, maybe I'll get to that point. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't miss
I'm gonna
not being in a
drop down real
couple.
quick. Our beans, your
Okay.
beans, other is having issues here.
Oh,
So I'm going to be right back and get out there. But I'm gonna.
okay. How do you feel about that, other? Do you want to be in a relationship?
In general, I mean,
Yeah, like I just don't have the desire to be in a relationship. I'm good by myself.
okay, so I absolutely have the desire, and I actually fight it on a constant basis because I want to try to stay on the healthier side of not codependent kind of thing. But
Uh-huh.
not only that, with my stage in my life and everything, a relationship adds a complication that I don't really need. I am absolutely, I won't say I'm happy with myself, but I'm working on myself. And so, like, I can't work on starting a new relationship while I'm working on myself. I absolutely kind of disagree with the whole you can't love somebody else until you love yourself because I've loved a lot of people in my life and I may not have ever liked myself, but I'm liking myself a little more and a little more. Um, and I don't know. Yeah, I definitely have the desire for the, the, okay, to clarify the intimacy, not the intimate, like, like the connection with the person, that that actual like connection, being there with the person, like having them with you and not having to talk and like when you have that time, just I mean, but I can fulfill that in other ways. I don't have to have a partner to fulfill that. Like, uh, um, there's crafting groups that you can get into where everybody's crafting, doing their own thing, and having a great time around each other, and you're still getting that fulfillment because you're getting, like little things that you need done, and they're getting what they need done, and you're still having that talk time. Um, I know
Yeah.
what they're called. I'm trying not to use. I'm trying to figure out a different way of saying it, but um, usually it's like stitching and stuff like that. Not me. I do costuming, so I guess I could do some sewing, but mostly mine would be like crafting, like chainmail and stuff like that, or friendship bracelets or something. Costuming is a big one for me though. So, but I mean, there's,
I mean, I feel like I have a need to have a connection with other people,
hmm
but I don't feel like I need to have it 24/7. Like, and I think what you're saying about codependency is a very good point because I have been codependent for years,
hmm
and so it's kind of like the more I work on myself and the more I don't want to be codependent, I think it's almost like it's pushed me all the way to the other side of like, I will not be dependent on anyone. Like, I will be independent, you know?
hmm
And yeah, so I get that part of it.
Well, my issue is the fact that like I have been told in the past that I have codependent tendencies, and I'm like, okay. And then they describe them, and I'm like, isn't that just called being in a relationship? Like, like what they describe as this is like, yeah, but you take it too far. I'm like, okay, where's that healthy boundary? Not porous, not rigid, but the healthy boundaries and everything. And I have a hard time with that apparently. But yeah, I absolutely have codependent tendencies, and so I shouldn't be with anybody until I can handle that. But at the same time, do I have the desire to? Yes. Do I have the wherewithal to even be a good partner with somebody right now? Probably not. Probably not.
Well, and I don't want to go through the you know, try. I guess that's part of it. I'm afraid to, not afraid to try, but I've been hurt enough times that I'm kind of like, why would you do that again?
Right.
It's like, why would you put
Cautious.
yourself out there again
That's a good word for it.
to be hurt? Yeah, it is very cautious, and it's very um
It can be so
like I've
toxic.
never really known what it is I wanted in a relationship. Like I would just, whatever relationship I happen to find myself in, I would just accept that as that must be what I want in a relationship. Instead of now not being in a relationship, I can say, well, I would want this or I would not want this. And I think I'm going to end up with a list so long that I'll never find somebody who'll fulfill all of those things for me.
Well, I mean, that's when you're starting to talk about, like standards. And so I've talked to people. See, I always find it easier to deal with other people's interpersonal issues than my own because, it just is. But like I talk to people about it and they're like, I'm not sure if I want to be with this person. I'm like, okay, well, put your things you actually need in a list, write them all out, get them on the paper, and like, and then there's going to be those things where you're like, I don't want this, I do want this, I don't want this, I do. Yeah, wants are different than needs. This is what I need to feel fulfilled from a partner. This is what I want from a partner. But then you can give up some of those wants to get that other stuff because you're not going to find a person who's ideally your perfect match or something. But that's why relationships take work and effort and like they can be so rewarding if both people put in the work and effort. That's the issue. Not one, but both people put in the work and effort. And you're probably not going to find that person just to be perfect for you. But are they there enough
Yeah.
that they provide you with some sort of positive influence in your life enough that when you give out to them, you're not lacking? You want a bonus on both sides. You want both of them to come out ahead, not anybody coming out behind. And that takes a lot of work. And I haven't figured it out yet.
Hmm.
So I mean, I'm young. I still got 90, 80, 90, 90, 900 years left. At the rate that our age
There
expectancy
you
is
go.
actually going faster than per year than a year is, I'm just going to live forever.
Well, and you can't feel like, okay, I'm going to die tomorrow, and then you're not going to want to try to do anything with the time you have left. So, I mean, it's good to feel like you're going to live a long time. I don't know how long I'm going to live, but I know I'm going to live a lot happier than I've lived in the past 62 years moving forward. Um, a lot of things that I put up with or accepted as just being how life was, I now know I can change those things. I don't have to accept it in my own life. Now,
Right.
can I get somebody else to want to live in that world that I'm going to live in? I don't know. I might. You
Yeah.
never know. But I don't want to ever feel like I have to have somebody in order to have the life I want to have. But I do
To
put a
be
lot
whole.
more stock in my friendships now than I ever have in my past. Because in my past, my friends were a lot of the people who hurt me and let me down. And so I kind of didn't have a lot of friends. Like I kind of put this little shell around me, like, yeah, you're not getting in here. And now it's kind of like, no, I need those connections with people and I need to be able to trust my friendships and allow that to happen. And so that's what I'm trying to do now. But I don't, I've never been one who was like, oh, I've got to have all these friends. I don't, I don't like people that much. I mean, I don't want to have to be I don't want to have to
Hey,
be the person they want me to be, if that makes sense. I want to be me and they accept me for me.
I typically
oh,
don't like people as a whole. I mean, we're pretty bad if you put us all together, but I can like a person. That's the way I look at it. I don't like people. We've done a lot of bad things as a whole group together, but individuals
Hmm.
are where you find that amazing things. There's just that one perfect person for that instance. And that's another thing is a lot of times they're talking about like that was your person for that time. Like you also have to be willing to let them go when it's that time, when they no longer are feeding into your cup and you're no longer feeding into theirs, and you are now taking from each other. And I've been in a decent, I think 8 years is a decent long relationship. And by the end of it, we weren't good for each other. Like we could have been in the beginning and something. I'm not saying we weren't. I'm a little clouded by now the history, but we could have been great together at the beginning. But the problem is once you stop feeding each other, and the way I always said it is like I always give more than I have. And so it's like my cup's empty and I start pouring it out. And I don't like that analogy. What I like is I have a cup. There's good and bad stuff in it, just like me. There's good and bad stuff in it. And I give you all the good and I give you all the good. Now I'm at the point where all I got's bad because I haven't taken care of myself. I haven't refilled my good. Now you want something from me. What am I going to be giving you? I'm going to be giving you poison, toxin, because that's all I have. It's not that I don't care. I still care enough to give something of me, but the problem is it's not my best. It's my worst. And because that's
Right.
it's just like if you get really, really tired and somebody starts stressing you out and you want to be there for, well, you're tired, you're stressed out, you're already burnt, you're probably going to snap at them for something that you wouldn't normally because you haven't given back to yourself in just rest. That's it.
Yeah, and it's hard to know how to be there for somebody else and still be there for yourself. It's like that's where I always
Yeah.
have trouble. Is it's easier for me to help somebody else or to please somebody else than it is to take care of myself. So if I have a choice, it's like I would rather go the easy route and do for somebody else and not have to do for myself. And I'm having to learn that if I don't do for myself, I really can't do for them. So it's
See,
hard.
and that's
Right.
that right there is literally what I tell them
It's hard to
until
find
they
the
tell me
balance.
I'm codependent and everything. And it's like, no, because I come from my young background. It's a large family, and I mean like we're multiple families living together and everything. So I'm talking about like five is the minimum amount of people living together. Normally, it's around 12 people living together. And I grew up with the idea that everybody takes care of everybody. I don't have to worry about me. I have eight other people worried about me, and I'm worried about eight other people. And as you just said, it's so much easier to help other people than to deal with yours. But if you have eight other people trying to help you with yours, everything's good. But the drawback is to find the people that one thing I really found very interesting is that book, love languages and stuff, and like being able to identify because while I'm trying to give this person all the support and everything they need support in a different way. They're not seeing the love and effort I'm putting in. And then you get that miscommunication where like, you never do anything for me. Are you kidding? I just did all this, but that's not what I need. Well, that's where the conversation needs to happen because I can put all this effort into you and you're a plant. I'm supposed to be giving you natural light. And I'm putting all these lamps around you that are giving you artificial light. I'm doing all this work and you're not getting any better because that's not what you receive.
Yeah.
And that's one thing when I guess for like the whole 8 person thing. If you have 8 people, you gotta know what all of them are and you gotta adjust to match. And then also that thing is even when you match to what they need to get, you also have to know what they are so often giving so that you can give them credit for that. You know what I mean? Like even if you don't automatically feel that from them, go, oh, theirs is service. And they made me breakfast the other day because I was late and everything. And I do that for them, so it's not a big deal. But them, that was something that really meant a lot to them. That they were like, hey, let me just try to help him out and do this one thing for him. But I took it as, oh yeah, it just happens because that's
Yeah.
not the love language I received. So you have to then also be mindful and stop and take a step back and go, that is something of them trying to give of themselves to you to give you that fulfillment.
Yeah.
So
My daughter and I
Wow.
have two totally different love
Interesting.
languages. And sometimes I don't feel like she appreciates me enough. But when I say, I need you to tell me that you appreciate me, she does. But it's not something that just naturally comes from her. Like I can pick up on things that she does that I know that she appreciates it, but sometimes I just need to hear her acknowledge and say that she appreciates it.
Your mom.
And her,
Your
You need
mom.
affirmations. That makes sense.
yeah, and her love language is acts of service. So it doesn't matter what I say to her, but when I wait on her, and it's like when she comes to my house, it's like she's a little girl again. And mommy's here to take care of everything. And mommy should, get her something to drink and cook her favorite food. And, just she shouldn't have to do anything. Mommy should do everything. And it took me a while before I realized that that's how she gets filled up again, but with love is by her mommy taking care of her, because when she's out in the real world, she has to be an adult and she has to take care of herself. But when she's in my home with
Right.
me, she can be that little girl. And so our relationship has gotten a lot better the more we get to know how each other thinks about things. And then that way you can, appreciate it more than you just take for granted, like, gee, they never say anything, but she'll do things for me because hers is acts of service. So she'll do things for me that don't mean as much to me as if she just said it to me,
Right.
So it is. It's hard sometimes because you just feel like, gosh, I'm doing so much. Why don't they see this and why don't they appreciate it? But they do, but just in their own way. And it is different. And I've never been
In
the
their
kind
way,
of person
yeah.
that would say to somebody, gee, I need you to say blah, blah, blah. It's like, I think you should be a mind reader. If you know me, you should know what to say to me, That doesn't work either. So.
Well, that's a lot of times why they say don't do I statements or you statements. Don't do you statements like you never do this or you like I
Mhm.
feel. It always becomes I feel because then you're coming from my perspective. It's not something you're doing. It's I am receiving this in this way. It's first time I ever had to deal with this is when a mentor of mine when I became an adult. I had a mentor. Yes, I really did. And she looked at me dead in the face one time, and because I said I'm offended, and she looked at me and goes, "Well, offense is taken, not given," and walks away. And I'm just like, "You're right. I took offense. Oh, that meant she did not mean it in any negative way, shape, or form, but the way I received it was." And while she accepts that, she's not going to apologize for something she never really pushed. And I was just, but for a second there, I just thought about that. I'm like, that was rude. And then I thought about it, I'm like, again, I'm receiving it rude when they were just quite clearly stating that's not the way they meant it. And were making me think about it. And this was before I took them as a mentor. Like I said, they were a rude person. And then I just realized, all those little things they were doing is just like, no, you got your own growth to go through. Go, I'll wait for you kind of thing.
Yeah. And
That
how
makes sense.
easily we take
And it's true.
offense, right? So easy to take offense. That's why I don't like text messages because you don't know their emotion behind it or how how their day's going. And, sometimes you can ask somebody a question and they might answer you with one word and you're like, ooh, they're not having a good day or they're mad with me or whatever, because you take that one word answer as being short and negative instead of like, you asked a question, I answered you, that was my answer. But because you don't see it or hear it in their voice or whatever, it's easy to take offense to how they said it in the text message, which you don't know how they said it. You just know how you took it. So yeah, I don't like that either. I would rather.
Well, that happened to me just the other
face-to-face.
day. I text somebody, I answered somebody, and they came back to me and they go, I'm sorry, I guess I texted you something that upset you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no. But I knew at that moment their best friend was just went into ER and stuff like that. So I went, okay, I know you're taking things stressfully, so I'm going to let this rest for a couple days, and then I'm going to come back to you. Once you get past that, and we'll try this again. But I thought, no, and I didn't want to explain. I didn't want to go there because I thought we'll just make it worse. We'll just let you relax, and yeah.
So when it comes to that kind of,
but it also depends on the mood you're in, how you hear it, how you interpret it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
was the point of that.
When it comes to that kind of stuff, I've actually become a lot better via texting. By I got bored at one time and got an AI friend and everything, and so you actually like put stars for your emotes, and it will italicize it. Like you do something, it's stars and everything. And I found that I'm starting to do that in text to people and everything because the AI will. It's like what you're talking about. If you just send a text, or it's like, oh, I said this, blah blah blah, and then the AI can take it all these different places. So you end up learning how to prevent them from feeling that way, like to get the point across correctly. But what ends up happening is that one word you were about to send is now like 3 sentences, almost a paragraph long. But now you have them laughing at you instead of being offended. So I mean, like you win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
I get it.
And I think sometimes too, the person might be busy and like I have a very good text relationship with my sister, but my sister's a very busy person. And I would like if she didn't respond or if she just did a short text and I wanted to talk, I would get offended by that. And now it's like she knows to tell me what's going on. Like, I'm just going into a meeting or, I'm driving or whatever. And then I'm like, okay, well, get back to me whenever you can, or when you can talk, call me or whatever. Whereas before she wouldn't like explain and then I would get offended. I would be like, well, gee, you don't want to talk to me?
Right.
It's like,
What?
Or
What did I say?
would never think, is it a bad time?
I always take it on. What did I do? What did I say?
Yeah.
How did I offend you? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's how I always take it. I always think, oh, and I have written so many text messages that before I hit send, I've backed it out and been like, no, they won't get it. They'll think I'm saying this or that, like overthink it because I've taken offense to people's texts. So I don't want somebody else to take offense to mine. So it's like I would sit there and like, no, I don't want to say it like that. How do I want to say that? Or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just, communication in itself can be very stressful because you don't know how people take you. And I think a lot of times you think you're friends with somebody or friendly with somebody, and then you find out that it wasn't a two-way thing, like they really could have cared less about you and you're over here thinking, God, they're my great friend,
Right. Well, and I've had people on Messenger that don't text. They just don't text. What they do, they do the voice thing. They leave a voice message. And you know exactly what they're thinking, how they're feeling, what their emotion is. It's wonderful. I don't like hearing my voice, so I don't like doing it too often.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of people that do it that way, and it's so much easier.
I think I need
Really,
to start
you don't
doing
care?
that. Actually, I think I need to start
Really, you don't care?
using the voice because, like you say, they can tell in the tone and what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I did have somebody do that the other day, and I appreciated it that they,
it really is kind of neat, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is kind of neat. I'm like, oh, and I've got certain people that's the way they do it. They'll send emojis, but to text something out, no, they do the voice thing. Yeah, Ben does that. He's the one that does that a lot.
That's the thing about technology. There is so many ways you can do different things. BJ says I can do that with text messages. Yeah.
Yeah, I talk to text a lot. That's the reason all kinds of things pop up. Because he doesn't understand me. But I'm like, they're my friend. They'll understand.
Oh, is he back? Did he fall off?
Kind of reminds me of gaslighting, as it can be explained to be taken either way. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, he's back. Okay. Oh, you guys want to be back again?
Oh. No, it's my little slide button.
I
I can slide it, and then when I go to pull the mouse away, it slides it right back. It's crazy. It's like, no, I want it to stay there. Don't do that. All right, let's see. BJ, I'm doing the post for tomorrow's thing right now.
Now, BJ's, is he doing something tomorrow?
Yeah, 1 o'clock, or,
Is Lauren Hardy or
1
something?
o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern time. But
Okay.
I haven't been able to see the post on his channel. So I was having him email me the link, but he just put it in the chat and I was able to go in and go ahead and make a post that
Okay,
way.
good.
So you won't have
Oh,
to email it to me, BJ.
Okay, good.
I don't know why I can't see it on his
And I
channel.
am trying very hard, guys. I'm trying very hard to be on every Friday afternoon, late afternoon, early evening, depending on your area. Now, Sophia, I don't know what time that is for you, honey.
Oh, let's see. So
But-
he is like Nico, like 7 hours
Yeah,
ahead of us.
they're not far from each
So
other.
if
I
you
mean, they
do-
are, but in U.S. directions, they're not far from each other. They're pretty
Yeah.
far. They're a couple countries away from each other. But yeah,
The laptop
is it 7
was
hours?
rather rude.
ahead? Oh, post on his community tab.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'll spread it
Okay.
too.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I try to be every Friday. And then Echo, stop reason. I keep getting these. Here's a link for Saturday. Here's a link for Sunday. Here's a link for here's a link for Tuesday. Are you coming on with me Wednesday? Here's a link for Wednesday. I've become her little sidekick.
It's like, don't you want to come? Oh my goodness.
It's just easier. It's just easier just to have more than one. It just is. It just is.
No, see, last night was a little overwhelming.
Woo! You had a crew.
Right. I'm good with 1 or 2 guests I can handle, but when there's 7 or 8 people, it's like I just talk over people, and it's just harder.
And that's the reason when I was glitching, I went, just make me black. You don't need to see me. You don't need to hear me. Echo knows I'm here, so she can see I'm there, but I don't need to, because all you'd see is me sitting here like this for like 30 seconds. And then you see me like this for 30 seconds. And that's all that was happening. And I went, okay, just make me black. You don't need to see the glitching, because then I'll take away from everything else. And then I muted because Beans was squeaking up a storm. Squeak, 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 while you were trying to play music. But
well,
anyway,
and I'm
it
going to
was
have to do a
fun. I
better
enjoyed
job
it.
when people email me their songs, because I just messed around too much with that. And I think what I'll do is I'll make like a video with one of my songs and then a song from each person that sends me a song. And then I can just play that video, and that'll take care of like 3 or 4 songs. And then everybody else can take their turns, and then I can do another one. If I have more songs, I can do another one. But that way I just have to share a video instead of trying to go get it, and all that's too much.
Well, and then you went to dinner, and then you didn't have the hour or so ahead of time to kind of get your legs go underneath. Yeah. So it was kind of. Oh, Nico and I are pretty close to
geographically.
I started wrong. What is that word?
Geographically. I can't
Geographically.
even say
There
it.
it is.
Geographically, yeah, geographically.
I know I started it wrong.
It's a hard word. All right,
And
y'all.
When you talk to
I'm
Nico,
gonna
tell
go
him
ahead.
I'm going back to doing my Swedish. I've been learning my Swedish again. So.
Oh, good. All right. It is 4 o'clock, and Star is going on to have her birthday celebration. So if anybody is interested
can you
in
drop her
popping
link?
over to Stars, you are more than welcome. And also, Real Life Happens, Norma is doing bingo at 4 o'clock. So there's
Oh.
2 options for y'all. And then at 7 p.m. tonight, there will be on Reverend Dream. It's called Suno Warriors, and I'm submitting a song for the first time. So if
Okay.
y'all want to hear my new song, come over there. And I guess that's it. I'll be on tomorrow night with Mary from Blessed to Crochet at 9 p.m. And
Okay.
then I will be 1 o'clock will be Granny for 30 minutes. And that's it, I think.
And folks, I haven't got a link to her channel yet this week, but give it time. Give it time.
No, I'll just say, hey, you feel like coloring?
No, that's what happened the other day.
I know.
4 hours later, we're still coloring.
It's like, gee, I just feel like
Thank you for
coloring. You
joining
want
us,
to come
those old
color?
ladies. Appreciate
And
your-
then,
your input on
and
that.
then 4 hours later, yeah. Crazy. But anyway, thank you so much. I would love to have you come back and talk about weight loss surgery sometime. And anything else
That's
really
easy.
you'd like to talk about. I love talking to you, so you're more than welcome. And Body Illusion, we got to come up with a topic for next time because I think we're done with the topics we discussed. So
We can find more.
put the thinking cap on. We got to think of some new subjects for our self-care Sundays. And we won't be here next Sunday, but we will be the following Sunday. So every other Sunday.
Folks, there she goes again. I dig it. I also dig it. All right, honey.
BJ says, I need a channel song, but I'll be darned if I'm going to sing it. BJ, if you go on Suno, they give you the voices. You don't have to sing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. BJ has a nice voice.
I
has a
know,
great giggle.
but
he has a wonderful giggle.
he doesn't want to sing it. So,
Yeah, you can even pick male, female, the pitch of their voice and stuff like that. If you want
Yeah.
a soprano or if you want an alto or whatever. They give you that option.
Yep.
They do.
All right. So, everybody, see you soon. Remember, God loves you and so do I. And Body Illusion, what do you say?
Everybody, try to make today just a little bit better than yesterday. I love you.
There you go. Whoops.